America is the most plausible and the most likely home base for a lost civilization.
In a shocking development, Graham Hancock, one of the world's most renowned journalists and researchers, just made a ground-shattering revelation about the Grand Canyon. Hancock's discovery is so profound that it shatters everything we thought we knew about the Grand Canyon and leaves us questioning many bits and pieces of our history that we thought we had all figured out. However, beyond just a revelation, Hancock's latest findings hint at something more sinister and mind-boggling, something that may very well alter the course of our history. This discovery may just change the way we see the world forever. What did Graham Hancock reveal about the Grand Canyon? What makes this discovery so intriguing? How does this revelation alter our history, and what potential impacts will it have on our future? In the long list of national parks and sensational places in the world, the Grand Canyon is undoubtedly one of the most renowned and favored among many. From its size to its beauty and captivating features, this wonderland has everything to attract individuals and keep them submerged in its awe. Tourists, explorers, and scientists find it hard to keep their sights off this natural wonderland, as it has something special for everyone. From the breathtaking views to the stunning geological features like rocks and steep mountains and valleys, the canyon is like a whole different universe on Earth. Folks from all over the world travel to this place to catch a glimpse of what life in an open wonderland would feel and taste like. Aside from these, the Grand Canyon also offers a captivating geologic phenomenon, and a prime example of this is the Great Unconformity. The Great Unconformity is a mind-boggling boundary between two massive sets of rock layers, showcasing a mesmerizing time gap that, according to our history books, shouldn't exist. The time gap is believed to span hundreds of millions of years, and it presents a sudden shift from very ancient rocks at the lower portion to newer, younger rocks at the upper level. The stark separation is just breathtaking, presenting a merger between two very different geological periods. However, as tantalizing as the Great Unconformity may be, it does present a puzzle for scientists. The million-year gap in this anomaly is still a mystery. What actually transpired in these million years? The base of the Grand Canyon contains ancient rocks that have undergone millions of years of wear and tear. Above this, you find newer layers of sedimentary rocks that were shaped by rivers, seas, and other forces of nature. The stark contrast witnessed here is something that has amazed researchers. But then a few genius minds like Graham Hancock have managed to crack the code. According to Graham Hancock, a certain planetary event like a massive glaciation or a flood must have caused the sharp contrast witnessed in the Great Unconformity. Perhaps the colossal flood shredded off the ancient layer and then quickly began stacking new layers of sedimentary rocks to create the unique anomaly we see today. The crazy erosion from such a flood must have led to the absence of rock remains or survivors from that era, further compounding the enigma. Graham Hancock's flood theory isn't far-fetched, as many researchers in history books across various cultures reference a cataclysmic flood that once swept the earth thousands of years ago. One such reference is in the Christian Bible and is commonly referred to as Noah's flood. Decades of exploration in the Grand Canyon have revealed many ancient fossils, possibly casualties of this great flood. There are some experts who even suggest that the Grand Canyon was formed by massive erosion, which is why it contains many steep landscapes and extravagant highlands. All of these point to the fact that Graham Hancock's prediction was right. Graham Hancock currently stands as a remarkable figure in the world of historical and scientific investigation. Born in Edinburgh in 1950, he transitioned from sociology to journalism before diving into prehistoric mysteries and ancient civilizations. Hancock has written several interesting books, sharing some of his most profound theories and findings. Some of his famous books include Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods. He also appears on the Joe Rogan Show regularly, where he discusses some of his mind-blowing theories. Most of Hancock's works, particularly his interpretations of historical documents and archaeological evidence, have earned him the title of a pseudo-archaeologist. He has a remarkable gift for analyzing things in a way no one else has, and bringing up the most interesting findings and conclusions. Recently, he made one such interesting conclusion about the Grand Canyon that sent shockwaves throughout the scientific community. Hancock revealed that an ancient advanced civilization lived under the mesmerizing park. Hancock, like a 21st century Indiana Jones, gazed into the Grand Canyon in a way no tourist or explorer had ever done before. Thanks to his keen perception and curiosity, he brought several interesting revelations to light. Hancock drew groundbreaking conclusions from his own discoveries, as well as deep research on historical records of people who had explored the Grand Canyon in the past. One such individual who had explored the Grand Canyon in the past and inspired Hancock was John Wesley Powell. Powell started his exploration of the Grand Canyon in the 1800s, when it wasn't yet a national park and people could care less about it. Powell, however, was intrigued by the strange rocks in the area. And so, against all odds, he entered the area, analyzing the pastures, highlands, rivers, and everything he could find. The young adventurer dreamed of drawing a map of the Grand Canyon and learning its history. Although there weren't many tools or technology to help his revolutionary expedition, Wesley Powell did make some interesting findings. He discovered that the carved rocks in most of the canyon had been shaped by water over millions of years. He also realized that these rocks held much critical information about humanity's past. In fact, they were like some kind of time machine, offering a glimpse into the past. Wesley Powell's sensational description and analysis of the Grand Canyon spurred many to develop an interest in this once-forsaken wonderland, and it wasn't long before other explorers burst onto the scene. One of the most popular figures who managed to make a ground-shattering discovery about the canyon was the famed explorer G.E. Kincaid. G.E. Kincaid was a daredevil, a man who would go to any lengths to get to the real bottom of anything and anywhere he truly wished to explore. He set his eyes on the Grand Canyon in the year 1908, about the time when President Teddy Roosevelt sought to declare the place off-limits for miners and woodcutters. For Kincaid, he wanted to see the canyon in all of its glory before parts of it were cut off forever. And so, sensing one last opportunity for an adventure, the daredevil took a boat down the Colorado River and into the vast wonderland. By this time, the Grand Canyon was rich in minerals, gold and silver. So either way, it was a win-win situation for Kincaid. However, what this man found in the canyon was beyond precious metals. What he found would turn out to be the most earth-shattering discovery of the century. About 40 miles upstream, Kincaid noticed several strange markings in the rock formations. This piqued his interest, causing him to probe further on foot. There was no clear path to follow, so this adventurer relied on instincts alone. A little while later, he began to see several puzzling things that made him realize there was more to the canyon than anyone could have ever imagined. The first thing that caught Kincaid's eye was the several steps carved into the sandstone like a staircase. The structure seemed human-made, further sparking Kincaid's curiosity. The young treasure hunter knew he was onto something big, so he pressed on without calling for backup or reporting what he saw to authorities. At the end of the steps, Kincaid came face to face with a hidden passage. By now, he was deep in the heart of the Grand Canyon, and the darkness was overwhelming. The cave was concealed so well that not a flicker of light could enter. However, armed with his flashlight, Kincaid's epic adventure was far from over. Kincaid zoomed in on his environment with his torchlight, and what he saw left him scratching his head for answers. Right there on the walls were strange symbols and hieroglyphics that he just couldn't explain. They looked so strange, like nothing he had ever encountered. But most of all, these symbols meant one thing: humans once lived here. Diving deeper into the tunnel, Kincaid found more of these enigmatic wall carvings and drawings, and also realized that the passage was narrowing. There were also side passages leading to several rooms with oval-shaped doorways. The rooms had circular air spaces, which Kincaid assumed were meant for ventilation. Furthermore, the walls of these rooms were very strong and thick, measuring over 3 feet. These secret chambers employed mind-blowing architecture and a marvel of engineering. Judging by the writings on the wall, the tribe that lived here must have been ancient. But then, the level of engineering and architecture employed here speaks of a people with advanced knowledge, probably ahead of their time. Putting all the pieces together, Kincaid found himself in an enigmatic web of mystery and wonder, with many questions running through his mind. What tribe or ancient civilization lived here? And how did they gain such masterful knowledge of engineering and architecture? To add to the enigma, there were several other findings like a sculpted idol, a collection of various tools crafted from copper, residues of slag and charcoal, and certain reflective stones. All of these were strong indicators of human presence, further strengthening Kincaid's belief that a tribe or ancient people once lived here. However, the real eye-opener came when Kincaid entered a certain chamber deep within the intricate network of passages. Kincaid was utterly shocked as he found something he never would have thought existed in the Grand Canyon. Right there inside this chamber was a collection of several mummies. It was like some kind of ancient tomb, like those found in Egypt. But that wasn't all. At the head of each mummy was a small bench with samples of copper cups and fragments of broken swords on them. The whole scene seemed mind-boggling. But it was the last and final thing Kincaid, or any other explorer after him, needed to confirm that humans indeed settled in these deep, dark caves. The idea of an ancient human civilization inhabiting this vast wilderness seems so ambiguous, like some cooked-up tales. But then, the evidence is overwhelming. It would be quite controversial to assume that these mummified bodies and all the other stuff found in these caves showed up out of nowhere. But these pieces of evidence raise several questions about humanity's history. Who were these ancient tribespeople, and what kind of life did they live in the Grand Canyon? Also, how long ago did they thrive here? And finally, what led to their disappearance? The Grand Canyon is said to be as old as 6 million years. Many researchers have shared that the area has been a safe haven for Native Americans for thousands of years. These clans and small groups of individuals built settlements within the canyon and also inhabited its many caves. Some tribes even considered the place a holy site. Until today, certain stories are still told by locals who live along the Colorado River, close to the canyon. One of the famous stories told by these locals is that the canyon was once inhabited by a unique race of individuals who thrived as a single unit. But as time went on, crises and disagreements began to brew amongst the people, and they separated into two clans. One clan was named the People of One Heart, while the other was named the People of Two Hearts. Later on, the discord grew, so the chief of the tribe, a man named Machado, requested that the People of One Heart leave the settlement. However, there was no way out. So the all-wise chief planted a tree so it grew and burst out through the roof of the clandestine cave, creating an opening. Through this opening, the People of One Heart were able to escape and find a new settlement somewhere close to the Colorado River. From then on, they began cultivating and further spreading out to other parts of the nearby lands. This story radiates from the Hopi people, a North American tribe that resides in northeastern Arizona. The unique people are sometimes called Pueblo Indians and are regarded for their unique culture, which greatly involves painting. The mesmerizing story was brought to light by artist W.E. Rollins after he spent a year learning about the indigenous culture of the Hopi people. So far, there's gross speculation that the ancestors of the Hopi people were the ones who inhabited the Grand Canyon, but then certain mysteries still exist about how these folks managed to survive in such an environment. The sprawling caves seemed like a vast underworld, but on the other hand, they also seemed too uninhabitable for humans. Early explorers like G.E. Kincaid, who ventured into these regions, confirmed that they were quite risky and difficult. Kincaid was the brain behind many of the early discoveries within these ancient caves in the Grand Canyon. In fact, he explored the caves so much that he gave them the name Kincaid's Citadel. The entrance to Kincaid's Citadel is positioned about 1,486 feet down a steep wall of the Grand Canyon. Getting access to this conclave alone via this entrance is life-threatening. Beyond that, there's the rugged terrain to deal with, as well as narrow passages and gross darkness. All of this makes the adventure more treacherous, a nightmare for the faint of heart. Kincaid faced so many difficulties that he turned to the Smithsonian Institute to enlist their help and support. He wrote down his enigmatic cave findings, hoping to entice the Institute so they'd equally pick up interest in the caves. As luck would have it, Kincaid got what he deserved. A team of over 40 experts, including scientists, researchers, and journalists, were unleashed to dig deep into the enchanting reaches of the cave, finding answers to the puzzle. One renowned academic, Professor S.A. Jordan, partnered with Kincaid to lead the new team. The goal was simple: find out the truth about this underground home and the civilization that thrived in it. Over the course of the expedition, several stunning artifacts were uncovered, each one as a testament to the superfluous civilization that owned them. Over time, these little bits and pieces began to add up, giving scientists and researchers a picture of how the ancient people once lived. In fact, several plausible theories had begun to take shape within the group, and it was as though the mystery would soon come to an end. However, just when the team was about to reach the climax of their investigations and findings, something shocking happened. Every single artifact and mummy that had been sent to the Smithsonian authorities mysteriously disappeared. When Kincaid tried to inquire into what had happened to his precious artifacts and mummies, he was shut down. It was an enigmatic scenario with several fingers pointing at various individuals. Things took the strangest turn when Kincaid and Jordan, the two men spearheading this research, mysteriously disappeared. It was completely shocking, as no one could find any traces of these men or tell of their whereabouts. But beyond a case of missing persons, this turn of events also meant that the once great expedition would come to an end. With Kincaid and Jordan gone, there was no way to find out the truth about these caves in the Grand Canyon. These men vanished with an unthinkable wealth of knowledge. It didn't take long before the hundreds of workers and great minds who had gathered to help make the groundbreaking discovery began to disband one by one. And intriguingly, none of the workers gave any information about the possible whereabouts of the two men. In a twinkle of an eye, everyone was just gone. Nevertheless, the enigma didn't end there. Soon after the team disbanded, the government locked down the area. This single move sparked many questions and controversies. Why did the government lock down this part of the Grand Canyon? Was it because of the dangers hidden in the caves? Or was there something about these caves that they wanted to keep away from the public eye? The government never gave any explanation for these drastic actions. One minute, the caves were open, and then the next minute, armed men in black were parading the place, keeping people off the property. The secrecy and oddity of the whole thing made it quite puzzling and suspicious. The situation becomes all the more enigmatic when you consider the timing of the whole thing. Some conspiracy theorists even propose that the government may have had a hand in the sudden disappearance of these men. Perhaps they made a ground-shattering discovery that the men in black couldn't risk getting exposed to the public. So they had to make these men disappear and also make the area inaccessible to avoid any future adventurers from finding these dark secrets. Speculations have been running wild ever since these events took place in the 90s. Nevertheless, the curiosity and intrigue over the Grand Canyon haven't faded one bit. In fact, men like Graham Hancock have taken up the quest and are bent on solving the puzzle once and for all. Hancock has been renowned for his exceptional insight on matters regarding the mysterious and inexplicable. He specializes in looking into things and places that others won't dare, and he does so with peculiar insight. Hancock has been applauded frequently in the media for his profound pseudoscientific theories, some of which explain certain phenomena in places in ways scientists never could. For instance, Hancock shared with the world that a lost civilization created the pyramids in the Sphinx of Egypt. According to him, this civilization dates as far back as the Ice Age and may in fact be alien. Hancock has also shared several other alarming theories about Antarctica, aliens, Atlantis, and so many other interesting places and concepts. Somehow, this pseudo-archaeologist and researcher has a way of merging history with facts, theories, and real-life evidence to create fantastic views and explanations for some of the most mind-boggling mysteries of the 21st century. Interestingly, renowned individuals within the scientific community even accept most of Hancock's theories. And like several others before, this theory about the Grand Canyon is becoming profoundly popular. Despite the fact that the government's sudden shutdown of the caves and the surrounding area makes it impossible for experts like Graham Hancock to explore in person, he's managed to create profound theories using years of backbreaking research and data. But Hancock is not alone in this noble endeavor. Several researchers and explorers have been drawn to these caves, and some are taking the bold step to go beyond the usual theories to find out the truth for themselves. One such individual is the explorer Jerry Wills. Wills and his wife committed several years of their lives to investigating and finding this underground civilization. First, they tried locating the entrance of the Kincaid Citadel, despite obvious physical and psychological roadblocks put up by the government. However, shockingly, the duo found themselves under constant surveillance from an unidentified aircraft. This gave them the impression that the government was watching their every move. Eventually, Jerry Willis and his team stumbled upon a certain tunnel that should have led to the Citadel, but strangely, they found cement blocks and several pieces of equipment that seemed to suggest that someone was there. The mystery was very puzzling, given the fact that the entire area was supposed to be off-limits. This sparked several questions among experts. Who or what was exploring these caves? Was it the government? And if so, why? Certain strange yet plausible conspiracy theories have popped up over the years regarding this conundrum. One prevalent theory is that the caves contain evidence or remains of extraterrestrials or aliens. You see, some theorists hold that the ancient advanced civilization that Graham Hancock spoke of may actually be an alien civilization. In fact, there may be remains of aliens hidden in the deepest, darkest part of these caves. The secrecy of the government over the Grand Canyon, especially this part, is one thing that seems to support this theory. For decades, we've seen the U.S. government maintain a certain level of secrecy when it comes to matters regarding the paranormal or supernatural. From UFOs to alien sightings and weird, unexplainable phenomena, much of documented outer-worldly events and items are kept classified. Time and time again, multiple whistleblowers and supposed witnesses have let the cat out of the bag, revealing shocking details about the government's involvement with aliens and extraterrestrials. Some shocking revelations include the retrieval and reverse engineering of alien technology and DNA, running secret experiments, and so on. Strange enough, neither the government nor its agencies admit the existence of extraterrestrials. Yet overwhelming evidence and testimonials from pilots, astronauts, and other critical office holders in agencies like the CIA and NASA have made the public suspect there's a lot going on behind the scenes. The government's insistence on secrecy over the Grand Canyon caves is very similar to their secrecy over places like Area 51, a place rumored to be a hub for research on aliens and extraterrestrial technology. But then again, another thing that supports the alien connection theory is the discovery of hieroglyphics within the underground chamber. These symbols resemble those found in ancient Egyptian culture. If there's one civilization that's been rumored to have ties to aliens, it's ancient Egypt. From the magnificent pyramids to the mind-blowing technology, scientific knowledge, and magic these ancient people wielded, everything seems to suggest that they had help from an advanced race beyond the stars. The pyramids, for example, have been extensively studied, and many experts have confirmed that the architecture and expertise employed in their construction are just insane. Building such massive architectural structures, even by today's standards and technology, would be extremely difficult. But then, not only did ancient Egyptians build these things, but they also managed to align the pyramids with celestial bodies in cardinal direction. This signifies a high level of intelligence and advanced knowledge of the cosmos, something that should not have been possible for people of that era. Moreover, most of the stones that make up the pyramids weigh several tons. Experts are still baffled as to how these supposedly fragile people must have moved the stones hundreds of feet into the air. At the very best, it's safe to say they had help from certain powerful beings, perhaps giants. In any case, ancient Egypt left a trove of archaeological wonders behind, including weird cave drawings, mummies, and artifacts. And so finding the same kinds of mummies, patterns, and symbols in the Grand Canyon is highly suspicious. It hints at an ancient clandestine relationship that may have existed between the cave dwellers and ancient Egyptians. But what exactly could that relationship be? Were these cave dwellers extraterrestrials? Or were they a race of humans who received help from otherworldly beings like the ancient Egyptians did? Speculations are running wild, and experts are constantly left with more questions than answers. For one, the geographical distance between the Grand Canyon and the USA and the caves or pyramids in Egypt is insane. Connecting these two locations together would seem way out of league, except of course, you want to bring extraterrestrials into the picture. It's conceivable that the aliens may have brought knowledgeable individuals from Egypt to these Grand Canyon caves, facilitating the transfer and spread of knowledge. Now, while all this may seem plausible, the lack of evidence in our history books makes it all doubtful. However, some figures within the scientific community have pointed fingers at the government once more. Given the controversial history of the U.S. government on matters regarding aliens and how they love to keep everything classified, it could be that certain classified documents exist at top secret levels, revealing the entire truth about aliens. Talk about a conspiracy within a conspiracy. For example, consider how Kincaid and Jordan mysteriously vanished just when the government stepped in. Could it be that the government made all traces of evidence and documents regarding the pyramids disappear without a trace? So far, there's still a truckload of questions and puzzles for experts and men of insight like Graham Hancock to solve. There's a chance that the same ancient alien civilization that influenced ancient Egypt may return to influence humanity's future once more. And besides, the Grand Canyon holds several enigmas, even to this day. Several explorers and tourists have shared spine-chilling tales of eerie encounters in this mega wonderland. Some shocking reports and footage of UFOs hovering over the Grand Canyon have surfaced in recent years. These events have been met with wild speculations about aliens inhabiting the park. There have also been sightings of strange lights in the night sky on several occasions. All of this hints at something sinister lurking within the Grand Canyon. In addition, there have been countless cases of mysterious deaths and missing persons in this park. The perplexing situations are usually so mystifying that even authorities lack words to explain them. Even after launching extensive search and rescue operations, only a tiny fraction of the people who have gone missing in the Grand Canyon have ever been found. Add that to the mysterious deaths, eerie encounters, and strange lights and objects in the sky, and you can see why many people believe this place to be cursed or haunted. A good number of people believe that the aliens or other supernatural forces at play in the Grand Canyon may be the reason for the many unexplainable events that have been recorded in this vast wonderland. In any case, the Grand Canyon remains open, so these mysteries are still open to solutions. Hopefully, sooner than later, we'll unravel the truth about this paradoxical wonderland. Thank you for watching another episode of Voyager. While you are still here, click on the video on your screen to see more mind-blowing videos like this.